it's Mike Sales from Midlands Movies here, and I'm absolutely honoured to be joined today by our VIP jury panel member for the Midlands Movies Awards 2025. He's a star of stage and screen and movies, franchises, voiceover work, video games, television, and an author and a writer as well. And it is the most amazing gentleman. And thank you so much for joining, Richard Armitage. How you doing, Rich?
I'm good. I'd forgotten all that stuff. It's always fun when somebody kind of reads a bit of your CV out. Yeah.
Oh, it's a long Wikipedia page you have.
Good thing.
Well, yeah, just a bit of background, really. The Midlands Movies Awards supports local filmmakers from this area, and I know, obviously, following your career for many years, that you're someone. I'm currently sitting in Ayleston in Leicester. It's where I'm based and have been for 27 years.
Amazing.
You're from Leicester, or originally from Leicester. You still consider yourself a Midlands a Midlander or honorary
I
Midlander?
I really do. I really do. And it's interesting because when I was growing up and I went to a college in Coventry called Patterson College,
Hmm.
and I was told that I had kind of ugly flat Midlands vowels. So I spent a long time kind of pretending I wasn't from Leicester and trying to sound posh, which a lot of actors do from the regions. Well, they did in that time. But yeah, I've come full circle now, and I'm kind of proud of my Leicester roots for sure.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really, really great to hear. I know you've got lots of other connections to Leicester as well,
Yeah,
and the Midlands in general about where your work and career is headed. You mentioned like Patterson College there.
yeah.
Again, I've had a little look into kind of did you move there? You at the moment there's a lot of like local filmmakers who are struggling with their funding and resources,
Yeah.
and you may have got some local authority funding according to what I've read to be able to do that. How important do you think that is for being able to move like kind of forward in a career when you're first starting out?
I mean, it's massive. It was one of the reasons why I didn't pick a London school because at the
Mm.
time we just couldn't afford it. And the Leicestershire Education Authority, I think it was called at the time, I was able to get a grant to go to Patterson College. Those grants have gone now, apart from higher education, if you're studying a degree. So I don't know. I'm passionate about trying to get those things back
Mm.
because you've got to do it both sides of it. Like we need funding to create film and television content, but also if we don't have the sort of generation coming into the business that we're nurturing from our local communities, then we don't have anybody to hire. I was up in Birmingham not so long ago at Digbeth Lock, who it's
Yep.
Stephen Knight's
Hmm.
studio, and a lot of the conversation is about can we leverage some government funding from the local authorities, but
Yeah.
also can we provide outreach to give? Because one of the things I would have loved to have had is a sort of little school type thing, right? Like rather than Sunday school, like film school, where you can go to the studio and find out all of the different professions that you can do on a film set or a
Hmm.
TV set. And I know that Bad Wolf do that down in Cardiff, and I think Stephen has the same plan because again, you're sort of nurturing your future film crew.
Hmm. Hmm. I think I know so many filmmakers doing what I do who would just be itching at the chance to be able to do something like that or join in that, learn more
Yeah.
from the people who know it as well, and it being local to try and retain some of the talent here because it's so easy to leapfrog out. We always want to see filmmakers move forward, and sometimes you just have to go where the work is.
And it's
And if
it's not just filmmakers either. It's like, and I'm talking primary school,
Yeah.
even when people are sort of choosing what they might do as a profession,
Hmm.
they might not be a film director, but they might be a carpenter or an
Hmm.
electrician or a prop maker or a costume maker. I mean, all of those things that you don't always know happen on a film set, and
Well,
we're an ecosystem, aren't we? The film industry. We
absolutely.
we are lots. You could be in catering.
Yeah. I think
So
it's important for my awards that I actually request that the filming happens within the region, not just that the
oh, good.
filmmakers are from it. And that becomes a thing because it does require a whole community and the economy is all part of it. So catering and using hiring a place and it just keeps I wouldn't say just the money because at the level of the low budget filmmaking we're doing for some of the local filmmakers is it's a tough road. But if we can help each other, then I found that that's actually an important part to play because you take film crews all over the world. But there's something about the Midlands I think is quite special if we can
Yeah,
keep people here to do it as well. You mentioned that you've done, obviously, stage and work and being in Birmingham. I know there's a great local cinema in Digbeth called Mockingbird, and that's really supportive of big films, but also local filmmakers as well. I've read that it's going back to your comment, moving very strangely into Birmingham. You were once on stage in a production on The Hobbit at Birmingham Alexander, was it
yeah,
Alexander? Yeah.
yeah. Well
How?
researched. Yeah, I was. I think I joined the Scouts because I wanted to be in the gang show,
Mhm.
which is a really old term. You might have to Google it. It was basically like a little variety show that performed at the Concordia Theatre in Hinckley. That
Oh
was the
wow, yeah.
reason that I joined the Scouts. But from that, I got a little audition for this production of The Hobbit at the Alex
Mhm.
Theatre. I think it might have been an amateur production, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was my first. Yeah, my first professional or paid. I think I got £50.
Oh, don't spend it all at once, Richard.
But yeah, I mean, one of the regrets I have. I mean, my first ever time sitting in a theatre was
Mhm.
at the Haymarket in Leicester.
Wow, these are all things that are still around in that
I
in
mean,
my world
I,
right
I
now.
still love that auditorium. I don't know if the theatre's gone. I know that
The
it's dark,
building's still there. We have the curve in that area, and that has various things to promote
lots of stuff at the
actors
curve. But
acting.
yeah, the Haymarket was one of those theatres that there
Mhm.
wasn't a bad seat in the house. I remember seeing Noel Gordon in Gypsy and just being like, "That's what I'm going to do." At the time, it was musical theatre. But one of the regrets I have is that I haven't been able to bring a show to Leicester. Like I've toured with the Royal Shakespeare Company,
Mm.
I've toured with musicals, and we've always gone to Birmingham or
Mhm.
Manchester because Leicester never really had a big receiving house.
Mhm.
It does now,
Yeah.
but I haven't been on a tour, so that's another kind of checklist for my life is to perform on stage in Leicester.
Oh, that'll be so. I'll be down the front. I'll be the first one there. But that's fantastic. Sticking with the Midlands again, moving to the kind of next stage of you were in Robin Hood, obviously big connection, Nottingham, just over the county border. You were
So
in Nottingham. You said something in that about playing Guy of Gisborne and
yeah.
that you liked his kind of fatal flaws. Is that something you look for in a lot of characters that you play? Is that an interesting thing to explore?
Yeah, it was interesting because how you see yourself and how you're perceived are just two very different things. And of course, when I found out that there was a new production of Robin Hood happening with the BBC, I was like, oh
Mm.
wow, great! Maybe I can audition for Robin Hood. And they were like, no, 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 no. We don't see you as the hero. We see you as the villain. So yeah, it was a big pill to swallow. Well, I looked into the history of Guy of Gisborne and
Mhm.
Robin of Locksley, and I found an old story which I think is the only thing ever written about him, which was this idea that they were aligned with each other, that they were friends. And so I thought, oh, he could have been Robin Hood. He just tried a different path. So
Mhm.
yeah, I like a flawed villain with a redeemable sort
Mhm.
of um, but yeah, I mean, again, one of the, one of the tragedies of that production of Robin Hood is that there wasn't enough forest in Nottingham to film, so we had to shoot the whole thing in Budapest.
Oh, wow. I don't think there's many, if any. I've done a bit of research on Robin Hood for my articles for my site, and there's very few that are filmed actually in Nottingham. None of the big ones, which is a big
No,
shame considering it's so
well,
associated with it.
Sherwood is because that's James Graham's home, but it's not about the forest because there's not much forest left.
No,
So
that's
we
true.
had to go to Eastern Europe to find forest, but it was great. And there's an yeah, every generation deserves a Robin Hood, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then on the back of that, you did the audiobooks.
I did. Yeah, that was my first time I ever sat in front of a mic and did an audiobook, and it was it was quite easy actually because I just did impressions of everyone I was working with. Some of them probably not very flattering, but it was great. I loved it.
I was going to ask if you used any of the Midlands twang or slang that you might have
All of
picked
it,
up
all
or
of it,
yes.
all of it.
Yeah. Again, yeah, around the Midlands, oh, it's got the Midlands, the medieval Midlands. You share a
Yeah.
birthday with the Richard the Third's, the anniversary of the Battle of Bosworth, I believe.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
have you ever played Richard the Third on stage or film? Or just
No, I tried.
try?
Yeah, gosh, there's a story there, isn't it? So I was named Richard because my mum went into labor, and my dad is a Ricardian and a really big historical. He was a historical lover.
Mhm.
Um, and he said to my mum, if he's born on the 22nd, he's going to have to be Richard because I was going to be called Russell.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was born on the 22nd, and then every year on my birthday we'd go on this little outing to Bosworth Field. So I always grew up with Richard III is my namesake, and then realizing that he was this kind of hunchbacked villain in Shakespeare. I remember feeling a bit kind of salty about it. But then years and years later, when I was working on Robin Hood, Philippa Langley, who famously discovered
Yeah.
Richard's bones under the car park, approached me with a script about Richard, which was inspired by The Sun in Splendor, one of my dad's favorite books,
Mhm.
which was telling the alternative story of Richard. But we pitched it. It was very, very difficult to get off the ground. Also because I am nothing like Richard. I'm probably I'm more of an Edward. But yeah, there's a lot of connections there. There's a lot of,
Mhm.
I've been to the visitor center. I've kept in touch with Philippa, but yeah, I think it will probably just remain a namesake.
Okay. So I don't know if this is a big walk down memory lane for you. It's kind of asking the questions in the order of your next project. You worked on an indie film called Frozen. Obviously, a lot of the filmmakers we see, especially for the ones with the awards, are working on really, really limited or not even budgets. They're doing it for the love of it, or they may have got a grant or crowdfunded these days as well. What are the kind of benefits, or what would any recommendations about how to approach low budgets or independent films? How have you found them, and how can filmmakers learn and actors learn from them?
I think back when I shot Frozen, that may well have been on film. I think digital and high tech uh, advancements have meant you can shoot
Mhm.
more cheaply with the use of drones instead of having to hire a helicopter. I think
Yeah.
there's a hell of a lot you can do. I mean, I did a movie called The Man from Rome, and we went to the Vatican, and we weren't allowed to set cameras up, so they shot on an iPhone, and the shots went into the film, and like they were good enough to be in the film. So,
Mhm.
but I think one of the things I've learned from working on very, very low budget to sort of budget busters like Ocean's 8 is that often the lower the budget, it sort of forces you to write in a more succinct way. Like when you can't have
Mhm.
a big sort of action stunt. You have to contain this with two people talking in a room.
Mhm.
It's no less thrilling, and I think you just have to find ways to create that kind of crackling tension with two talking heads. But that's where I come from. I come from literary theatrical background, so I love two talking heads. I mean, one of the things I always try to do as well whenever I'm working on something is if there's a phone call, I'll always be like, is there a way you can make this a person-to-person conversation? Because it's so much more interesting.
Mhm.
But yeah, it forces the writing into a more interesting place, I think.
No, that's great. That's great. I couldn't agree more with you. I think there's a whole genre of people in rooms talking that I really like JFK and 12 Angry Men, especially. Just like the tension that can be built in that. And I think yeah, a lot of local filmmakers have to be clever and resourceful in things like their scripts to
Yeah,
be able.
there's something to be said for guerrilla filming. We did a lot of that on Spooks where they didn't lock off streets. They just used long lenses, and we rehearsed and then would walk out. I mean, I remember doing a shot in Red Square in Moscow, and you weren't allowed to film in Red Square, so they set up the camera in a hotel with an extremely long lens, and we
Yeah.
just did this dialogue scene
Mhm.
on the hoof. We did it a few times and walked away, and it's like that you can capture. It's a bit like documentary filmmaking,
Yeah.
really. I love it.
Sure, that's awesome. You've mentioned loads of different projects just there, obviously big action things, smaller personal pieces and spooks and everything else. Do you have a particular set of choices you make, or does one project naturally flow into another? Like how do you choose between the next thing you're going to do? Because you have such a varied background.
Ah, the myth of actors getting to choose. There are it for me. It's always the
Mhm,
script that pops for me. It's usually one or two scenes that are in the story that I think I've never seen that before, or I've never
mhm,
tackled that before, or I don't know if I can do that. That's often what attracts me
mhm,
to the script. Then, of course, with something like Ocean's 8, which happened very last minute, it was a whirlwind, and I'd come off an aeroplane and went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art to shoot, and I was jet lagged, so I was kind of in this. I was barely there. I was like another person. So that was a whole different experience. Like it was almost dreamlike, but I really do quite like working on lower budget independent films where the filmmaker has spent their life writing the script and it's a passion project and they're
mhm.
committed to it. They know the budgets are low, so they've worked out every shot, and you feel like, oh, I'm getting involved in someone's kind of yeah. It's the word. The passion project is a nice place to be. So I enjoy that a lot.
That's again, I think music to local filmmakers ears to be able to hear from someone like yourself who loves that as a huge benefit, not just oh that's all we've got kind of attitude as well. Um, like I said, we really appreciate you looking at some of these local films, and we have the nominations, which we're going to pass over to you this week. What sort of things are you looking for in local films, or in just in short films in general? What
I
sort of
think a short film. Um, I mean, I did one just as a student film
thing?
when I was coming out of drama school, and I think they can be completely self-contained. I love a short story.
Hmm.
They can be self-contained. They can feel like the embryo of a feature. But I also think in that very small sort of chunk of time, they can really make you feel something. And actually, a sort of a test for me is if the short triggers you, what happens in your head after you've watched it? Like, does it continue to work on you? Do you start to wonder what happened next, or what the prequel was, or how they got to that point? Because effectively, a short film is often the the sort of nugget that you will take away from a bigger feature, which is often again what I was saying about my choosing criteria. It's usually one or two scenes that make you like that rock your world, and often the short film can be that. So I guess I'm looking for things that make my hair stand up, make me think and question.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, well, like I said, our awards are trying to give some recognition to those hardworking, low-budget filmmakers working on, as you say, the passion projects as well. We know awards aren't everything, but hopefully that helps bring a little bit of attention to these filmmakers. Do you? And I know you've been nominated and won all kinds of awards, Olivier's and things like that. But what's is there an award that you were surprised to receive, or were pleased to be in the mix for, or just thought that's a strange one?
Um, Gosh, that's interesting. Yeah, the Empire Film Awards. I mean, it was a
Mhm,
nomination. That was a big deal for me because I'd read that magazine uh, from the beginning of its publication. Um, one award that I was quite surprised by was the National Book Awards, the Nibbies,
mhm,
for my first novel. But I think it was nominated in audiobook category. But I remember being quite surprised by that because it was a first attempt at a novel for me. So
mhm,
that was lovely. I mean, look, it's really people always say this, but I'm I'm not somebody that will be crestfallen if you lose. Just being in the mix,
mhm,
just being considered is massive. It's a massive, like to be part of that little
mhm,
community of nominees is amazing.
mhm. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I
And
think
actually, the stress of having to give an acceptance speech is awful because I'm like, I'd rather go to a ceremony knowing you're not going to win this, because
yeah.
having to stand up with your shaking hand and your cue cards of an acceptance speech is terrifying.
Or the clap for the winner if the
Oh,
panel
I'm really good at that.
offside.
I'm very good at clapping up wins.
Well, thank you. And I think that is really lovely to hear because I think the importance of the filmmakers being seen by someone like yourself is a very different world for them to be in. And knowing someone who's had the career that you've had, that has the experience, and that has come from the area, I know will mean so much to them. So I just kind of want to put an early thanks for you to for
I can't wait. I can't wait to see
doing
them.
this.
I
And
can't wait.
you're really going to like them. You really are. I think there's some really, really talented stuff there, and a mixture of genres and tones as well. I think that's always quite interesting as well. Just sticking on awards, and then obviously we can wrap this up in just a moment. There's a new stunt category. Is
Uh,
there any? Obviously, you've been involved in stunts and action and stuff in The Hobbit and beyond. Do you think that's, or hopefully you do think it's a good thing, but also do you have any awards from your experience on sets that you think should be also included, funny or otherwise?
I do think that I do think there should be a recognized category for the motion capture performance. When you look at the work that Andy Serkis did with Planet of the Apes
Hmm.
and also Gollum, I mean, his reward is that he's getting to direct The Hunt for Gollum.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think looking at those people, when people disregard a motion capture performances,
Hmm.
it's digital makeup.
Hmm.
I think there should be an award there. But also, going back to stunts, I would have given my stunt double Mana Davis from The Hobbit all of the awards for the work that he did, which was completely unrecognized, other than a tiny little credit at the end, going really fast at the
Oh, yeah.
and the level of work that the whole stunt team did on The
Mhm.
Hobbit was mind blowing.
You can definitely see it up there on screen as well as people go flying here and there and everywhere and stuff. Yeah.
All that heavy, heavy hot costume. I mean, they were amazing.
Oh, yeah, of
And
course.
so gracious as well, like very quiet people,
Mhm.
just gracious and unassuming.
Amazing, amazing. Rich, is there any final words you'd like to say to filmmakers or words of encouragement for those who are perhaps starting out on their journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would. It's a little mantra that I always say to myself because I always feel like slightly like a fish out of water,
Mhm.
and that I'm not interesting enough, or I don't belong in the profession. I still
Mhm.
have that
Mhm.
slight paranoia, but and particularly with regard to short films, um, is that there's a place for everybody,
Mhm.
and whatever your perspective on the world is, that little slice of life which is uniquely yours can be a short, can be a feature, can sort of turn into a novel. My second book, The Cut, came from this tiny slice of life. So
Mhm.
you don't have to be making Captain America as
Mhm.
a short. It can be something so simple, but because it's uniquely yours,
Mhm.
that is the value. So don't underestimate it.
Oh, what great words to end on. But Richard, thank you so much for joining. I've found out so much more about kind of your background and your work and what gets you going as well. And to mention all those Leicester places that are just down the road. I've
Yeah.
walked
Well,
past.
hopefully we'll be poaching some of the crew from the winners for
Oh, wow.
when I come
Yeah.
to Leicester to film. So yeah.